Hello world, I'm back. I'm back. I cannot, of course, say that I'm back for a very long time. Busy times, but I decided to make the stream happen to let you know about how my Grand Swiss Riga experience went, and then go on and move on because, well, the World Championship match is coming. Yes, hi. And I'm going to commentate every single game of this match on chess.com.ru. So need time to understand how to make it interesting and entertaining for the spectators. Okay, anyway. Riga, Grand Swiss in Riga. Actually, that was the first tournament for women of such kind. It was the inaugural women's Grand Swiss. The FIDE Grand Swiss 2019 already. I think it was in 2019. Yeah, I think so. The first edition already took place. Well, for the ladies, since the World Championship cycle had changed, they also, FIDE, International Chess Federation, introduced this FIDE Grand Swiss as well. And it's a very interesting tournament. It's an open tournament. Of course, not everyone, it's not open for everyone, but for like, let's say top 50, I believe, according to the FIDE rating. And so anyone out of this top 50 can participate, but there is only one winner after that, because the first place qualifies directly to the candidates. And for those of you who followed, you know that Lei Tingjie, the young Chinese player, showed a very powerful performance and took the first place. I played, okay, we will talk about that later. The result itself is fine, and I wish I'd won the last game. In that case, I could have shared the fourth place, and of course, in any Swiss tournament, taking like prize places is not a bad result at all. But unfortunately, I made a draw in a completely winning position, and only shared the 8th place. Okay, but it's sport, right? Nobody wants to lose. I don't know about Kasparov's opinion. I haven't seen him, and I'm not sure it's too much in what way. But for the women's cycle, we have only one place from Grand Swiss qualifying to the candidates. For men, yeah, it's different. It's 2 places, but for us, it's just 1. Okay, let's get to the games that I played. There were 11 games, and somehow I wasn't feeling like rested enough and powerful enough to play all of them. And I had a very difficult first one. How to flip the board here, right? I was playing against many times French champion Sophie Millet. And I played black, and I opted for the Caro-Kann line. Actually, I played this Caro-Kann line in Blitz games. Well, it's quite risky. It's quite risky, and I misplayed completely in the opening. Of course, I should have taken here. Instead, I decided to attack this pawn. But in fact, even though usually exchanging like a side pawn to a central pawn is a good idea, but not in that particular case, because I'm just opening up the e-file, and I mean, quite late in development. My pieces are still on the 8th rank. Yes, thank you. Thank you for subscribing, Dirkje, for resubscribing. So I'm quite late in development here, and my pieces are still on the 8th rank, especially after this, particular move, Queen D8. And I need to be really, really careful with all those pieces standing on the 8th rank. But I was actually here, my opponent chose not the best move. I mean, she should have just developed, castle, play rook d1 at some point, play c4, and I was going to end up in a big trouble. Instead, she played knight a3, and I had a possibility to play queen f6, a very strange looking move, with a very concrete idea to play g5 and exchange the queens. Because after this exchange of the queens, well, not here, of course, but after a6, yeah, I need to protect the b5 square, because otherwise knight b5 and knight c7 will come. But here, at this exact moment, queen f6 would have been a much better option, because I'm attacking the pawn on c3. Well, right now I want to take it, but after castle, of course, I can't take it because of this discover check. But after castle, I can play g5. Also quite a strange looking move, but I just want to exchange the queens, and then my bishop will go to g7, my knight will go to e7, and having the king in the center is not so dangerous in endgames. But I played g6. That's way too slow. And my opponent could have won several times with many moves and continuations. She could have just punished me being so careless with development. What was the easiest way? I played rook e8. I believe here she could have played bishop takes g6, something like this. No, not here, because here I just take with h. Where was that? The position is winning. Yeah, here. I mean, after h6, of course. After h6, she had this bishop takes g6 move. It's just one of the possibilities. Then if I take, I believe rook takes e7. Rook takes e7, queen takes d5. And then bishop takes e7, queen takes e7, and she has like winning endgame with 2 extra pawns. It's just like one of the lines. I mean, there are so many lines where she could have destroyed me earlier, but somehow, okay, I got lucky. In this game, I think that's like the only game in the tournament where I really can say that I got lucky, because she played bishop h4. In that case, I played g5. And I found this counterplay, and suddenly I highlight a very unfortunate position of this knight on a3. I start using the fact that this knight, okay, she developed it to a3, hoping to go to b5 or to c4, but somehow it ended staying on the a file, and now the position is not so clear at all. And I played well till a certain moment. Okay, so I protected my pawn on d5. I won her pawn on d6, but she got some counterplay. So I won 2 pawns. She won 1 back. But I have 2 bishops in a very nice position, and she was already in time trouble. If we look at the clocks, at the clock, I think it's they show the right time here during the game. So she was like struggling because she needs to get to the 40th move to get the additional 30 minutes. Okay, so she played king h1, queen c5, a4. I didn't like this move at all, but she was afraid in the time trouble, to miss this a4 move. But after a4, her bishop is not protected anymore, and there are drawbacks to this move. I need to think about my king safety as well, because rook d6 here doesn't really work because of knight e7 and queen d6. But I really want to prepare rook d6 or rook d8, and that's why I played rook c8 first, protecting the 8th rank. And then I played king f8. Now I want to play rook d8. And here, here. I should have played rook d8, I think. Simply rook d8. But somehow I had 5 minutes. I had 5 minutes and I just rushed. And I played queen d6. I'm not ready because she has queen b5 here. And after queen g3, queen c5, king g8, she could have made a draw, I think, by playing knight e7. And here, if I take, yes, a very important move, this intermediate check, rook d8 check. Because if she plays queen e7, then I'm winning. I saw it during the game. I think my king just, it just goes away. It just runs away, and checkmate is threatening, and I'm winning this game. But she has this intermediate check, rook d8, and that's kind of ruins my plans. Because after bishop f8, she takes on e7 now, and I don't have my bishop to help my queen, and the only thing I can do is to give this perpetual queen e1, queen e5. That was the easiest way to finish this game in a draw. Well, she played queen b8, hoping to just repeat the moves. Queen b after king f8, queen c5, like this. But I found a chance to prolong the game. I played queen b8. I needed to give up my extra pawn, and I found this king h8 move, which keeps the game going. It keeps the game going. I still have 2 bishops, but it's starting all over. I'm starting all over again. No more tremendous advantage. I had an extra pawn. Now I have just an advantage of 2 bishops, and well, I think this position should be holdable for white. I'm sorry. Here I had some better moves such as queen f2, but it's a little bit double-edged because my king is also kind of in a mating net. So I decided to exchange the queens. I improved my position by putting my pawn on h4, because potentially it's like a passed pawn, especially if I will be able to win the pawn on h3. So my goal is to get with my rook somehow to h3 and to win this pawn. Then, I might get some chances. Okay, and we moved our pieces forward and backwards, and yes, she might have had some possibilities to make a draw. Okay, I moved, I regrouped, and you see that we had already here really very low. We were both very low on time, so I had 1.5 minutes. She was playing on seconds. It was quite shaky, and but I did manage to get to this h3 pawn, or to at least create a threat. Safe travels for those who travel. Yeah. Okay, so I won it back. And little by little, my two bishops proved their power. I managed to win the pawn on h3, and after winning this pawn on h3, my pawn on the h file just became too strong to hold. Yeah, well, not a very great game. Not the greatest one, very shaky one, especially in the opening. I was supposed to lose it, but my opponent was too generous. And in the second round, I played a very, well, quite an interesting game and a very short one. A very short one. It's like a, as I call it, delayed Alapin. Not like the most played line my opponent picked, but quite a good one. Okay, that's all a home preparation. I prepared this knight g5 move at home. She played f5. Well, it seems to be risky opening up this diagonal, but in fact, I can't do anything to get to her king yet. Hello, 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 people. Welcome. I played queen d3. Yeah, here I spent a lot of time. I was, so you see, at this position I had like 1 hour 17 minutes on the clock. After queen d3 it's 10 minutes per move, and then I played h4 fast, and here I spent 10 more minutes on this castling. I mean, I wanted to wait until she castles and then castle back, but she has some counter ideas with queen b7 and queen a6, and that's why I decided that I need to castle anyway. So she castled, and here she played queen to b7. I think she had better moves. She had better moves to make. But I want to show you what I... Yeah. Unfortunately, when I was playing rook e1, I was planning to play bishop f4, of course. And that is the move I needed to make. But somehow in the game, I thought that... I didn't trust my feelings. Because I thought that after bishop f4, she has... something like knight h5. Oh, knight h5. No, of course. She can play h6 and then play knight h5. But then after h6, I can either simply retreat my knight to f3 or even have this strangely looking move. But then my idea is to play bishop e5, knight f4 and knight g6. So h6 weakens her king side a lot. And that's why after bishop f4, she's not supposed to play h6. She's supposed to play knight c to d5. But in that case, I play bishop e5. And this bishop is quite annoying, because I have this threat all the time, right? I want to take on d5, I want to take on f6. And it's, it's not so clear how to protect from this threat. Well, if she plays g6 at some moment, well, again, she weakens her king side, and I might be able to use this fact in the future. Unfortunately for myself, I played bishop d2, and I started disliking my position a lot, and I was running already quite low on time, 43 minutes after 17th move, so just I already used half of the time, and we're not even halfway done. So I was very happy when my opponent started repeating the moves. It's a tricky position. It looks visually already better for black, but this annoying knight and this never-ending threat on h7 kind of, makes black's life harder. And so we finished this game quite early, like in 2 hours, and I was very happy because I was not really feeling well at this particular day, and draw seemed like a good result. In the round 3, I played against my compatriot, Valentina Gurina. That was a decent game. If we don't consider, yeah, you see the like 98.6 versus 98.3. Okay, but of course, in the opening, my opponent misplayed completely. It was a Ragozin variation with queen a4 and a3. Later on, I lost one more game with this line. White's idea is to sacrifice this pawn at some point. There is a line which goes knight e4. I believe white plays e3, then play queen c2, sacrificing on c3 and getting some compensation. But I didn't want to jump into any unnecessary complications against Valentina especially. And, well, she played bishop g5, h6, and she made a huge mistake. I mean, just an unbelievable mistake. She took on f6 with her bishop here. I mean, okay, if she wanted to take on f6, it would have been better to do here, but just exchanging this bishop for this knight in this particular position is not a good idea at all. But after giving me some extra move and taking on f6, I took on f3, of course, and then here it was my turn to make the wrong decision. I could have castled any side, actually. At any side, for example, like this, because if she takes on d5, I play rook h to e8 and her pawn on f3, there is no way she can protect this pawn, and her king is in the center. It's not clear at all where she is planning to castle, because if she goes, I mean, it's not so easy for her to finish this development, right? I can always play rook h to e8, and again, what is she gonna do? Short side castle was as strong. Again, taken on d5 with the king on e1 seems like very risky. Decision taken on b7, that's a good question, but somehow after queen takes b7, I believe it just white is too undeveloped. I didn't check the concrete line. We can check it out if you want. Let me see. But, you know, as we know now, taking those pawns, poisoned pawns without developing. Okay, rook f to e8, creating this threat, queen f3. And it's not so clear. It's not so clear how to proceed with white. If she plays, for example, bishop g2, then I can even, I think, go rook b8. Or, I have even queen g6. Rook b8 also seems to be quite... Yeah, even rook b8 and bishop b5 is good enough, but queen g6 is so much stronger. And then my queen goes to c2. And just, yes, she's underdeveloped. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Long side castle seemed to me a little bit risky during the game because, you know, I imagined all those lines with bishop g2, castling, and rook b1, and then the pawn goes to a5. But it just not happening. Chess is a very concrete game. Yes, castling short side usually is not a good idea, but here just about concrete lines, because as I already showed, bishop g2, rook h to e8, so she needs to protect this pawn somehow. I can take under control b1 square, and if she castles, then my attack also will go. I also have this queen h4, rook e6, and rook g6, a very, very strong plan. And suddenly you can see that my attack is not as bad, I mean, even much stronger. But of course, during the game, it was important to evaluate the risks, to calculate some lines, and to evaluate the position correctly. Well, I decided to play it safe and ended up in a slightly worse endgame. Okay, well, it's really slightly worse, but it was Valentina already who was pushing. She was playing fast, as she often does. And actually, I wasn't precise enough in the time trouble. It's somewhere around here. I misplayed a little bit. I played rook c3, and that is quite a serious inaccuracy. Okay, you want to give a check, but it would have been better to play rook c7 and to prepare king e5. Because I believe that if I play king e5 immediately, she has rook g1 at some point. Yes, if I play king e5 here, she can give a check. Oops, sorry. And then she can play rook g1. So I'm kind of almost obliged to go to... I mean, if I play rook g8, then she probably plays rook c1. So I'm a little bit late. Yeah, rook c1, and she has a very big advantage. So I'm not ready to play king e5, but of course I'd love to. And I need to just make a waiting move to play rook c7, with the idea to play king e5. And then after this f4, king d6, rook g1, I always have bishop h5. Yes, and the problem is that, again, after this check, I should have played rook c7. Instead, I played rook b3. Rook b3 is okay, but here I needed to play rook b2. I mean, it's just more difficult to take decisions, because... And rook takes f3 was not as bad, but I was afraid to let her rook to the c file. But again, it was much better than in the game. I was very afraid of her side pawn. I calculated this line, and I mean, it doesn't look well. Okay, I'm winning this pawn, but again, it seemed to me quite risky, especially in time trouble. In fact, it's not as bad. My bishop is still capable of holding it, but it looks a little bit shaky. And in the game, I decided to take here, and she took with the pawn, and that helps. King takes e4 might have been quite unpleasant, because after king takes e4, I was going to play king c5, but in that case, her rook goes to c7 or c6, c6 even first, and then c7, and somehow I'm not getting enough compensation for the pawn that she is about to win. Okay, bishop h5. That was the line I was hoping for, actually. And I mean, I am winning the pawn on f3. But the problem is that I have these two pawns, and she will get and win one of them. And okay, I will try my best to win the pawn on a4 or on f5, but if we analyze it like more thoroughly, we might find a save for black. But during the practical game, it's like very close to losing. So out of a sudden, I must say, I ended up in a tough situation. But luckily for me, f takes e4 was played, and in that case, king e7 is a strong move. And I have this checks, and if she goes to f4, I have a mating threat. Suddenly her king is in a mating net. And yeah, well, she of course tried to do something, but I also have enough compensation. So we play it a little bit more, and yeah, agreed on a draw. Agreed on a draw, and we go on to round number 4. I must say it's quite a long tournament, 11 rounds with just one free day. Whew, for me it's very, very hard. And here I played against promising young player from Kazakhstan, who showed a very good result. I think she scored 7 out of 11. And well, in this particular game, It was quite a rare line of the Neichdorf. I played g3, and we somehow transposed to dragons-like pawn structures. She played g6. It's more common to see e5 here for black. e6 transposes to some Scheveningen setups. And yeah, exactly. Dragon variation. But with this move a6, right? So black already played a6, so it gives white more time to create some opening problems. And she was playing very fast. I knew I was in my books till this moment. I'm not sure, b3, I think it's already something that I created over the board. But okay, it's about ideas here at this point. But here my opponent opted for quite a risky move order. I mean, she played e6. I didn't like this move at all. And then she played b5. And for me, it seemed to be a little bit too optimistic. I mean, her pawn on d6 is so weak. So I played rook d1, I played bishop g5, and I was very happy with my position. Very, very happy. I played queen f4, queen e7, and here I misplayed. I was going to play queen h4, but then I thought that with the idea to play f4 and e5. But then I thought that I'm not really in a hurry and I can double my rooks first, and I played rook d2, and I completely missed that after knight e5 she's threatening to play h6 and my pawn on e4 is hanging. And so I don't have any advantage at all after that. In fact, I should have, I mean, the computer suggests playing c4 immediately. And yeah, he evaluates the position as like almost +1. So almost like a 1 pawn advantage. After rook d2, the advantage is gone, as I said. I need to play c4 in order not to end up in a worse position with my pawn on c2. She played h6. Well, of course, I didn't like this exchange. And then she takes on e4, and just she has too strong center. So I was like almost obliged to exchange my bishop for the knight and get back. And okay, the position is about equal. It's about equal. Yeah, I have very nice looking rooks and I'm putting pressure on d6, but it's not enough, right? She can always protect this pawn. And but she went on and she decided to counterplay. And during the game, I thought that it's not that dangerous. In fact, that's the correct way to play for black. And somehow I ended up in a slightly worse position here. But luckily for me, I didn't understand that during the game. And well, e5 was a very bad move because here her position is better. And I'm not really threatening anything, but after e5, f5, I'm out of the woods. I mean, I'm back in the game again. A very complicated position. Somehow during the game, I thought that I'm the one who's pushing for like advantage. In fact, it's completely equal, and it's not so clear who is pushing for. It's actually white who is fighting for equality. And I went to this line. And she had several options to equalize completely. I believe rook d8 was like the easiest one to exchange the rooks. Instead, she gave a check, and this check only helps me because it puts my king into like a safe place. She cannot take the knight. I mean, she can, but this exchange is... No, actually she cannot, because she's losing a queen. And like this, a few puzzle rushes. Yep, and she played bishop f2, but then it's already tricky. Because suddenly I have all the many very nice ideas around her king, and she said to me after the game, she was going to play rook c8, quite an understandable move, creating a threat on c1. But that's a very nice problem. The question is, what is going to happen after rook c8? I am winning there. It was a very nice geometrical combination. And yes, I saw it during the game, and it's quite beautiful. I enjoyed it. After rook c8, I am winning. How do I win? How do I win after rook c8? Any ideas? Any ideas? I will not torture you for a long time because it's okay, it's not that obvious. It's not that obvious. Okay, since I want to show you all my games, I will show you the winning line immediately. Well, rook c1 is a threat, right? So I cannot, I don't have time to play, I don't know, some waiting moves or such, knight g5 or something, because black is threatening to give a checkmate. They are not kidding. So I need to look for moves with checks. And the first one is rook h7. And suddenly everything works out, turns out pretty well. So I give a check. If she goes to the 8th rank, I take with the check. And I continue then giving many checks. If she goes to h6, I give a fork. Very nice. And if she goes to g7, I give a check on d7. And again, to h6 if she goes. Then knight f7, knight f5. She cannot go to the 8th rank. Well, actually here because of a checkmate. And if she goes to f6, then I give a checkmate. So everything works out pretty well. Queen and knight, quite a nasty combination. And yeah, it turned out that rook c8 is losing, and actually she's in quite in a trouble here. Quite in a trouble because how to save the game here? It was already quite challenging, I believe. Yeah. She needed to play rook e8 and then rook e7, trying to exchange my very strong rook. Instead, she played bishop c6. Well, also quite an understandable, right? Quite an understandable move to make. And also quite a strong move, but in that case I played rook d2. And here she made a mistake. I believe bishop g3 is already like quite a serious mistake, because I play rook d3, and when she goes back I play h4. And I have suddenly too many threats. And I still have an extra pawn, which helps. But she blundered, yeah, she played rook e8, and suddenly after knight d8, just game over. Just a game over. She forgot about this very strong move. But yeah, to tell you the truth, her position was already quite unpleasant. Okay, quite a tense game. And after this game, I was on +2. And what happened next? And next I lost to Nino Batsiashvili. She played a very strong game, very nice attack. Well, I misplayed clearly in the opening to end up under such attack. Again, a3. Here I opted for a slightly different line compared with the game with Valentina. And, well, somehow I should have just castled. And the position is about equal. Instead, I decided to create some unnecessary maneuvers. Knight e4, knight d6. Okay, that happens in this Rogozin opening, but not in this particular game, because my pieces are too far away from the center and from the king side, and I was quite severely punished for that. Okay, f3, f6, knight g4, and here was the last moment to complicate. For that, I needed to evaluate how dangerous my position is, and I needed to play c5. It was the last moment to complicate, and after d takes c5, knight c4, actually the position is quite unclear. I am going to play queen c7, queen c5. There is no way for her to protect this pawn because my knight on c4 guards a3 and e3 squares, which can be helpful for her bishop. But so the position is okay, better for white, but quite double-edged. And instead I just collapsed. I played queen c8. Okay, I was preparing c5, but it's just too slow. I didn't feel that the position requires fast actions. And she did feel it, and she did find a very beautiful idea. She played e4 and knight h6. And somehow, in this position, she sacrificed the piece for 2 pawns. But I'm just completely hopeless. I mean, she's threatening to take the third pawn, she's threatening to play e5, and she's threatening to play rook f3, rook g3, and my beautiful knight just not helping with the game. I could have resigned here easily. Yes, I made a few moves, but it just, yeah, I needed to give up a piece, and but just my king's position is too weak. So just such a quite an unpleasant way to lose, I must say. I just didn't have a chance even to play. I misplayed in the opening, and she found a very nice attack and won the game quite brutally. So I was back to +1. I was back to +1, and I managed to win game before the free day, which was of course great. Quite a fashionable line. I got a very big advantage out of the opening, like e5 of course is not the move to proceed here, and then I was playing badly here. I decided to go for attack, and of course it's not the way to play here, and it's not the way to go. Knight takes c7, and then doubling the rooks on the d file and playing positionally would have been a better approach. Instead I went all in, and well, okay, I was just playing too fast. If you look at the clock, look, I had 1 hour 15 minutes while my opponent already had 20 minutes. So she was playing too slow, and she was afraid of my attack, which doesn't really exist. She played king f7, which, okay, gave me some advantage. But the position remained complex, and she had counter chances. But again, playing on 30 seconds, it's just very difficult. And at the point where she needed to calculate, I believe it's here, and play rook c2, again, she just didn't have time. Didn't have time to evaluate what is going to happen after this move. She played knight e7, but she gave me time to regroup my pieces. And finally, I was able to prepare this f4 move, and my position is winning here. It's winning, and I think I played well. I played well, but it's not that difficult. Yeah, it's quite a chaotic position, but I'm winning the queen, and she kept on playing with the being a queen down in a classical game, but okay, she got checkmated at the end. Well, quite a strange looking game, I must say. Then we had a free day, and then I played a good game against Jugener. Yeah. I was preparing, oh gosh, I think I was preparing like for the whole free day, and I was thinking what to play, and at least 10 hours I spent on preparation to this game, and I decided to opt for d4. Yeah, usually I play e4, but here I decided to play d4, and it paid out well. I mean, it was a great game, but just my opponent misplayed in this opening variation of the Nimzo defense. Of course, that's like should be about equal, but I have 2 bishops, and if white is in time to open up those bishops and to play c4 and bishop b2, then they get a good position. And my opponent, yeah, she started with knight c6, so it's not, it's inaccuracy, I think. She should have played b6 and then bishop a6, getting under control the c4 square. And then knight c6, knight a5, it's all about stopping this c4 move and opening up and letting white open up this dark squared bishop. Because after knight c6 I castled and I had time to play c4, and then I had time to play bishop b2, and then just too difficult because this bishop is too strong, and I am going to play d5, and it looked so easy in this game. And her knight maneuver reminded me of my knight maneuver in my game against Nino Botseshvili. They just don't work. You just don't move away your knight so far from your king when it's the only piece that protects the king. Well, queen e7, I think, was supposed to be played. Instead, she played knight e4. She put her knight to d6, but it's just impossible to hold. The center is too strong, and my pieces attacking black's king just seemed so, you know, so brutal. No way. A very easy game. Yeah. So this 10 hours of preparation paid out pretty well. Yeah, actually, my husband said I could have played a rook takes h7. Why didn't you take with the rook? Well, you know, because there are some positions where you just don't calculate. You just don't calculate. You just make moves. You just don't need to calculate and to sacrifice anything. You can take simply. Okay, so it was a very nice win, and I was very happy. And I went on to play with Elisabeth Paehtz, who played a wonderful tournament. She finished second. She shared second place at the end with Zhu Jiner. But that was an easy game for me. Somehow she didn't got what she wanted out of the opening. We ended up in a very solid position. And the only regret that I might have had is that I agreed on a draw here, in this position, because this position is slightly better for me. It's slightly better for me. At least it's easier to play. I mean, I have a plan here on the queen side. I can prepare b5, c6, b5, and try to prepare c4. So I could have continued, but somehow I didn't continue because here I played, yeah, she played rook a to f1, and I thought that, I mean, I was going to play king h8, but then I thought that knight e5 will be winning. I mean, and it's indeed very unpleasant, but what did I miss? I missed, yeah, here, knight b4, rook a2. Yeah, I missed that I can play b5. I mean, I saw this move and I was going to play b5. And here, because since she's threatening to take on f6, I was going to play king h8, but somehow I miscalculated and I saw this queen takes e5, and I thought that white is winning, but in fact they are not, because I have this bishop g8 move. But since I didn't see king h8, and I was very unhappy with my queen d7 move earlier on, and we were already like running low on time. We just made 20 moves and we were like both on 25. I decided to make a draw. And then, yeah, and then comes like one of the crucial moments of my tournament. My game with Lei Tingjie. She was leading already, I think, 1 point ahead of the field. Oh, I'm sorry. And it was the Caro-Kann. She played the Caro-Kann, which I didn't prepare. Yes, thank you. But I was very happy how, I mean, she opted for quite a strange looking lines. I could have played g4 here and then d3. But I decided to play b3. Yeah, of course, I didn't know this knight a6 night before. Apparently, she knew this idea. And okay, and here something unbelievable happened. Given taking into consideration that I don't like double pawns at all, I was carried away by the idea of doubling my pawns. Of course, I just should have played queen e4, bishop e2, protecting my bishop e2 probably, protecting my knight and castling long. Yes, I don't have an opening advantage, but I mean, it's a very solid position. It's a little bit easier for me to play. I have a plan. I want to play g4 and knight h4 at some point and exchange my knight for this bishop and get 2 bishop advantage. And I mean, it's a decent game. But instead I played queen h4, which is not a great idea. Well, here I had a chance. I got a chance. I needed to castle first, because she can't really take on f4 because I have the c4 or bishop takes f6. I should have castled first and then play f5, because when I played f5, she played bishop e5, and here I don't have d4 move. So the difference is that after I castle and play f5, she can, I mean, if she plays bishop e5, I already ready for move d4. My pieces protect the square. And it's important, I mean, the whole idea of doubling these pawns was to get to 2 bishop advantage. And after f5, immediately she just exchanges a pair of bishop, and she has a very good position. But somehow I didn't understand that her position is good. I mean, if I evaluated it correctly, I would have taken on e6 and make a draw, because it's very close to equal. So I needed just to exchange at some point on e6. But I was playing for a win. That was my problem. And here she could have played e5 immediately and get an advantage. Instead, she played h5. And that was like the last moment for me to equalize the game. So I should have taken and played d4. And if we compare this position with the games that happened, with the positions that happened in the game, I don't have a possibility in the game, I will show you why, to play rook f3. And here I have this idea. Because in the game, when I play d4, h4, if I play rook f3, she plays e5, and after rook e1, she has rook g1, and she has a very unpleasant threat of knight g2, and e4, then trapping my rook. But if we get to this position, so e5, for example, I play, for example, rook e1, and if she plays rook g1, then, I mean, she's not threatening anything. I can play king c2. If she plays knight g2, I just retreat my rook. And then her pawn is hanging, and my rook is not being trapped because of my own pawn. So, yeah. But I didn't evaluate this position correctly. And somehow, yes, this position just seems to be very close to being lost. I played well, and here was the last moment to hold on, to try to save the game. For that, I needed to opt for this line and play rook d3, I believe. Her knight is in the corner, and her pawns are doubled, and I do get a chance to make a draw. Instead, I was in time trouble, and I spent all my time, and I decided to exchange light pieces and hope to make a draw here, but she was very precise. I mean, didn't give me a single chance. Unfortunately, we still have these pawns on, and my rook is misplaced very badly. It needs to protect my pawn, and she just improves her position. And I blundered also with a5, forgetting about f5 move here, and she won it. quite easily. Yeah, quite a bad loss. But look at the precise of her play, 99.1. Yes. Misplayed me here. I cannot really say anything. In the 10th game, in the 10th round, I played a good game with my compatriot Natalia Pagonina. We started with knight d4, knight f6, g3. She surprised me with this move. And I somehow transported to the Grunfeld, to the symmetrical Grunfeld that I don't really play. I had no clue about opening lines here, but I played well. Just one inaccuracy here. I was supposed to play bishop e6. That's much stronger than... Oh, oops, not here. Here, of course. Bishop e6. It's much stronger than bishop c6 that I made in the game. And I believed after bishop g6, in order to find for an advantage, and white has a good chance, she needs to start with b4. Okay, I will not, talk a lot about those nuances. She played bishop h6, but after that, I played well. I found the move order that is the most precise, meaning queen takes d1 and then rook c8. It's very important, otherwise I am almost losing after rook e8 because of this b4, and there is no way for me to stop b5. But here, if she plays b4, it's not that dangerous because I have this square for my bishop, and I need to play e6, I believe, and with the idea after b5 to be able to take on a1, and I play f6, something like this, and it's a draw. Equal position. Yeah, and in the game nothing interesting happened, some more exchanges, and we agreed on a draw on the 31st move. Actually, there was a rule restriction to agree on draw by offering it earlier than the black's 30th move. But here we agreed. Yeah, you see that my 99.2, also not bad. And the last game, unfortunately, oh, that was such an unfortunate game. I will not talk and go over the whole game. Just will tell you that she misplayed in the opening, taken on c5, it's not precise. And I got a huge advantage here. I have, you see, almost +2 advantage. I just needed to play b4, bishop b2, knight d2, rook a to c1, preferably without thinking. She was already running low on time, and then prepare c4. Instead, I played c4 immediately. Okay, I still have an advantage, maybe not that huge. And for some reason, during this game, I just didn't want to take this bishop. I needed to exchange it at some point. But instead, I started maneuvering my pieces in a very strange way and ended up... Yes, thank you. Thank you for subbing. And I ended up in a worse position. But somehow, since I was so sure that my position is better, I pushed forward. Here she was supposed to take on a4, she played a5, and again my position started being better for me. Here I played precisely and reached a completely winning position. A completely winning position with 13 minutes on the clock. And of course, I evaluated this one correctly. Okay. So there were several ways to finish this game. The easiest one was to exchange this bishop somehow and play bishop b5, rook b5, and that's it. The game is over. After that, the game is over because queen b4 or queen b6 is coming, and then rook a5. So if she takes, I play queen b6, and then rook a5 and checkmate. Not that difficult, right? Quite easy. Okay, if I want to win in a more complicated style, then rook b5 was a solution. And actually, that was the move that I saw and I was calculating. But unfortunately for me, for some reason, I didn't see rook f takes b7. I was calculating only rook a takes b7, but in that case, she has this... She can take even here, right? What can she do? No, wait. I'm telling. Yes, she can. Oops. Don't. Okay. Yes, right. After rook takes, b takes b7, she can take with the queen. And if I take with rook f takes b7 and she takes with the queen, I have rook a5. And that's a win. That's a win. Not as simple as knight takes a5. Not as simple as that. But possible to find with 8 minutes. And taking into consideration that I was calculating mostly rook b5. For some reason, I didn't see rook f takes b7. Quite hard to understand. Okay, I made queen e5 move, which is also quite... It's okay. But she made a good move. Rook h to f8 with seconds on her clock. And yes, rook b5 here is winning again. But in this particular moment, I was not thinking about rook f5, rook b5. I did not check this move. Okay, I exchanged the rooks. I played knight e3. I played queen g7. And here move number 40. And I see bishop. Queen takes h6, queen takes a4. And I calculate this. And I'm not sure because I'm like low on time. And I was thinking about playing bishop b5. And that was a good move. Knight takes d5, winning here. But that's more complicated because you need first to realize that it's possible, that you are not losing, and knight d5 was like the most precise move. But unfortunately for me, move number 40, and I needed to make like the right decision. I made the wrong one. I took on h6. I was planning to play queen g7 here, but immediately after the time trouble, I was going to play queen g7 immediately, but I saw rook takes f2. Oops. Oops. And then queen c2. And yeah. And I just could not. I could not make this move. I thought for a very long time and made the right move, like the strongest move in the position, but just the position is so complex. It's better for me, but it's just too complicated. For example, here queen g5 was the move to make. I played rook c2, and here unfortunately I saw the idea rook takes c5, and that was a very interesting possibility to proceed. And here queen g7 or h5. I'm still better here, but I didn't want to risk. Unfortunately, I didn't feel like I'm ready to risk here. I didn't believe in myself and in my evaluations in this particular case, because I misevaluated so many times during this tournament that I was afraid that I'm misevaluating the initiative here as well. Because I'm an exchange down. If I'm misevaluating, then I might lose. And I played rook e2, but in that case she has enough counterplay. I found a very nice exchange sacrifice here, but unfortunately I have many checks, but she's holding. She has enough for a draw. I just need to make a perpetual. Yes, and 6.5. Yeah, you need to believe in yourself, but sometimes it's just too hard, because I've lost several games like this where I believed in myself and I sacrificed exchanges, and I just misevaluated the initiative. It's quite tricky, and in fact that it was like already a long tournament, a long game, and I was long time, and I decided to play it safe. In this particular case, that was the wrong decision. Well, sometimes it would be the right one. So the reason actually is to finish games earlier in winning position when you can just finish it, not carry on. Okay, guys, well, that was my Grand Swiss experience. I must say that it was very nicely organized, despite the fact of this curfew and lockdown and all other problems that they faced during the organization. Everything was organized like on a very high level, and well, I cannot really say that I enjoyed the tournament, but I definitely enjoyed the organization. And now my goal is to recover, rest well, and try to prepare to finish the year well with World Rapid and Blitz championships coming up in December. But meanwhile, okay, on Sunday I'm going to stream Chess Done Quickly edition with Backhouse. Backhouse edition is coming up, so make sure to pass by. I cannot promise many streams soon because I will be commentating every single day on Chess.com.ru, the World Championship match. Magnus Carlsen and Jan Nepomniachtchi. It's gonna be in Russian, so you're welcome to join if you're Russian speakers. And yeah, but hopefully, fingers crossed, I will be able to make a stream on or two in the before the match. The commentators, I am going to have a great company, I must say. Alexandra Kosteniuk is going to comment two first games with me. Then Sergei Koryakin is going to join. Артур, спасибо. Мы уже заканчиваем, правда. Рассказывала про выступление в Риге. But now, yeah, now I need to go. There's going to be re-rate. And да, уже я тут час, поэтому должна бежать. Показала все свои творческие достижения в Риге. And, well, guys, hopefully, yeah, I'm going to send the raid to Alessia Santaramo. And hopefully you're gonna have a good time with her. And, well, fingers crossed. I'll see you, all of you, soon on Sunday, but on Sunday... Да, но у меня, к сожалению, нету 3 часов. Я знаю, что надо от 3 часов и более, но это... Профессиональным стримером я еще не стала. У меня проблема в том, что я пытаюсь быть профессиональным шахматистом, профессиональным комментатором, профессиональным стримером. Как это делать, я не знаю. Вот, так что... Well, anyway, thank you for the raid. Thank you for the raid anyway. It's nice to see all of you and да, вставать пораньше и вообще не ложиться. Вчера закончили комментарии в 2:30 матча Аранян-Дубов, а сегодня уже в 12 стримлю. Ну вот где-то вот в это время. Да, согласна с вами. Так, ну, okay, anyway. Sunday it's going to be a Backhouse stream, Backhouse edition. It's going to be fun, so make sure to pass by. It's going to start at 7 p.m. Central European time. And I suppose we're going to talk mostly in Russian with my partner. Because we're both Russians. And yeah, I'll see you around. Just make sure to join my Discord to get notifications about my upcoming streams. Upcoming streams. And yeah, this one is a very old one. I think I was starting with this one. That was the first mic that Chess.com recommended to me like 2.5 years ago. And it stays with me. Okay, guys, need to run, really. Have an appointment in 15 minutes. And, you know, now I'm in Moscow and 15 minutes here is nothing. Need that time to get down to parking. Yes, I was very happy to see all of you, and hopefully many more streams are to come. So stay tuned. And yeah, I'll see you around. Take care, guys. Take care, да. До встречи, увидимся скоро. Сегодня на chess.com.ru для русскоговорящих зрителей. На chess.com.ru комментирую матч Свидлер-Накамура. Будет тяжело, в 8 вечера по Москве, так что заглядывайте. Заглядывайте, пообщаемся на русском, посмотрим. Поболеем за Петю. Ну, будет не просто Петру Вениаминовичу, но болеть будем. Так что, yes, 8 p.m. Moscow time on chess.com.ru I'm going to commentate in Russian Nakamura-Svidler match. It's gonna be hard, but we're gonna root for Svidler, of course. Okay, guys, see you. Take care, play chess as always. Bye.